From completely disregarding people from IndyCar to punishing drivers for winning, the F1 Super License is absurd. And now, another person is rallying to change this system, Max Verstappen, because he hates the new F1 Super License. Think of a Super License as a regular driver's license, but for Formula One. Because F1 is not an easy sport, and just because you've driven a few race cars doesn't mean you can easily drive a Formula One car as well. Take a look at Oscar Piastri, for example. He's a serial winner. He's won F3, and then he won F2. But testing day one showed he was the second slowest person on the track that day. This just goes to show how difficult driving one of these cars is. And because of that, you need to have a special kind of license to compete, because the FIA doesn't want to put other drivers on the track in harm's way. The Super License Systems has a lot of problems though, and it needs to be revamped. So it's no surprise that Max completely loathes it. But isn't he already in Formula One? What's making him dislike the system so much? Well, it's expensive as heck. The price of the Super License is directly linked to the driver's performance in the season before. So the better you perform in the past season, the more you'll have to pay. Like, make this make sense. How does the FIA justify making the drivers who drove well pay more? So with a record number of points, Max will end up paying more than any driver has ever had to pay for it. Here's how it works. There's a base fee, and then there's a fee for every point that you've scored in the championship. The base fee makes sense. It's nothing too crazy. You gotta pay $11,200, which honestly is a joke in Formula One. But the problem is, you've also gotta pay $2,250 for every point that you've scored. So in the case of Max, since he scored a record-breaking 454 points, he'll have to pay $1,036,000 to just compete in this season. Just think about that for a second. The guy's paying $1 million bucks, cause what? He was too darn good? This system really doesn't make sense now, does it? Here, just listen to what Max had to say. I think the amount is absurd. I don't think it's right that we should pay that much. This is also not the case in other sports, and there are more and more races. He's not wrong, is he now? Like, yeah, we all knew it's not right to pay so darn much, but that's beside the point. The fact that there are now more races than there have ever been in Formula One is what's crazy, because drivers are now more likely than ever to break records of total points earned. Take a look at the 2023 season, for example. We're going to have, 23 races and 6 sprints? That's a total of 29 events where a driver can potentially score points in. So, the total amount that's being paid to the FIA is just going to be increasing every year. Plus, what kind of system rewards you for being successful? Like, in most sports, when you win, you usually get bonuses. Okay, you get bonuses in F1 too. But over here, Max must pay $1 million bucks cause he was fast? Well, not really if you think about it. It makes sense that Verstappen hates the system. But to be honest, he doesn't even have to pay for anything because his contract states that it's Red Bull that's going to be paying for his super license, not the driver himself. Helmut Marko stated, "I'm afraid we'll have to pay this if I'm remembering the contract correctly." So maybe Max doesn't have a lot to worry about. Plus, Red Bull isn't the only one paying hefty fees. Other teams racked up quite a bill too. The second best team in 2022, Scuderia, had 2 competitive drivers. So for both of the drivers combined, the team will be paying a little over $1.25 million bucks. Mercedes at number 3 will be paying something close to $1.2 million as well. Then we've got McLaren, a team that isn't paying a lot. Because while the team is almost paying $300,000 for Lando, you gotta remember they've got a rookie as well. So for Oscar, the Woking-based outfit's going to be paying just $11,000. Williams doesn't have a lot to worry about though. It's only paying $20 grand for Alex and $11 grand for Logan, who's new as well. But here's the thing, right? There's so much money in Formula One that teams are having trouble staying within the $140-ish million cost cap. Red Bull So, does this money matter all that much? Well, not really, as long as teams keep footing the bill. But that's not all that's wrong with the super license, though. There are more problems with it. For example, it really discourages IndyCar. Ever notice the lack of American drivers in Formula One? I mean, yeah, we got Logan Sargent now, but how rare is that? Really? It's because the super license rewards F3 and F2 more than other well-established sports like IndyCar. Here's the problem. First, we've got the weightage of the points. So the champions of IndyCar and F2 both get 40 points. Okay, sounds fair. But then you got the issue of the sliding scale. If you're third in F2, you still get 40 points. However, if you're third in IndyCar, you get 20 points. And just like that, being fourth in F2 will get you 30 points, but then being fourth in Indy will get you 10. And here's the thing, right? IndyCar has a lot of veterans, and it's extremely competitive, so it's not really in the best interest of the sport to deny those folks access to Formula One. In fact, Formula One's missing out on a very talented person because of this, Colton Herta. So Herta wants to compete in Formula One, but he really can't because he doesn't have enough points on his super license. Now, if he does want to take part in the sport, he's going to have to go into the F3 category. And that's an absolutely foolish suggestion, because why would he need to prove he's F1 worthy by downgrading so many levels? In fact, Graham Rahal, an American race car driver, has stated that F1's an elitist sport. He even stated that while the sport wants American money from sponsorships, it doesn't want American drivers. And yes, IndyCar isn't like F1's preschool, kind of like F2 and F3, but this just goes to show just how flawed this whole system is. It's interesting to see how the FIA isn't doing anything about it either, because Herta's a perfectly fine driver. In fact, and I won't name them, I think he's better than many drivers on the grid. It makes sense that F1's going to try to protect its ladder and try to ensure that drivers won't go into all the other sports to get into F1, since that could overall lower the quality of the drivers. But the FIA needs to make a change, especially since Andretti Global is trying to now enter the sport. And the entire point of this team is to be the real American F1 team. Sorry, Haas. So if Andretti makes it in, it's going to want to exclusively hire American drivers. And in order to do that, this system needs to be looked into. So folks, the absurd fees and the shocking shun of American motorsport is why the super license is hated, especially by Max Verstappen.